Levels of equilibrium. So still I seek the force, the reason, governing life's flow, and not just its external show. Prelude. One way the story to remember. Imagine yourself standing up in a chamber. All around you are holes, of which chains erupts. All attached to you and pulling you out. Each chain with its force and dynamics. The direction it pulls and its alignment. Each with a life of its own. And the impact it set upon. Your balance in that chamber. In every moment in time. Depend on the sigma of forces. From each and every side. But you drive to get some control. To set a state that is more comfortable. And if you break or take over a chain, a degree of freedom will be what you gain. And this is true for all parts of the cosmos. Be it energy, particle, body, or structure. The possessors of life, soul, awareness. The familiar and the strangers. All follow one central rule. All share a common destination or goal. The highest level of balance that can be attained. Bringing to minimum the energy demands. This is the answer, the meaning of all. Optimizing balance is the ultimate goal. Each is torn between two narratives. Current balance or the one that can be achieved. No mystical forces, no gods are in need. The curtain has risen to expose the grid. No entity to blame, no accident or luck. No magic or spell, all was there from the start. First there was no where, no when. All elements, all rules. Tangled together, feeling abused. Hell was defined by this assimilation of all. Where no one has even a hint of control. No differentiation, never in peace. Identities huddle, twisted to a mess. But each is unique, strive to stand alone. Apart from the rest, so their glory is shown. Such unified force cannot be maintained. When all drive to be free again. So when the conditions are right. To get out they fight. Finally released. Alone or in groups. Gravity, electric-magnetic. The strong, the weak. Quantum of energy of different sort. Encapsulating mass and force. Those whose dance and interrelation make all that is called creation. Breaking out, erupt. Gaining initial freedom's degree. No more a part of that black energy. Not in a bang. Came the release. There was, probably, just a sigh of relief. The dimensions formed by the spread of the force, which slowly degrade while it goes, making room for those who are free to establish homes and communities. But around still stand, dark and immense, a collective of those who have yet to escape. We can't even see them, to taste or to smell. But their presence is felt, stretching out of their hell. Their struggle for freedom makes the universe grow. And the harder they fight, the more quickly it goes. Came space, came time, came the inflation. Came some relief from the friction. And now that it's colder, bodies appear out of energy that strives to set still. Just on the edge between two conditions. The elementary ones keep crossing over. Particle if the balance is right. Back to energy if it's not. The heartbeat generated by the collective wavering is our temporal resolution. The time to which we're tuning. As time is not an arrow, but like an EEG. Continuously emerging out the play of many. To synchronize the harmony. The past is just a memory. The future, yet to be. Just a continuum of nows. To which all matter sync. A better balance can be gained. and by uniting, to maintain. No more flickering around between two sides of the playground. Matter, oh matter, colliding, connect. Safety in numbers, mass that sustain. Coming together, assembling the shapes. New unities with new state or new trait. An assimilation of elements into a one. That allow objects to define. A collective that, compared to its environment, has different degree of freedom and or balance. As unlike before, in that flaming abyss. The forms can now, tangle in peace. A synergic effect of the different distinctives. A new cooperative, soothing, protective. United we stand, divided we fall. Autonomy and balance are good for us all. More and bigger are good alternatives. For better balance will be as planet massive. In one such planet, where it's both warm and wet. Down in the ocean, just next to a vent. Abiogenesis, here comes Eve. Like bubble of soap, form in a sphere. The natural form. In that water domain. Outside those that loves them. Inside those that hate. Locked in that domain, some interact. Producing more and more of the same. Till the place is too tight and too thin. We can use two quarantines. Metabolism, reproduction, self-sustain. Growth, response, adaptation. Homeostasis and development. Here they come, driven by mutations. Free to sit instead of just flow. Free to move and to grow. To pass it along to the next one in line. Keeping all that was gained till that time. Forming environment just for our own. Everything is constant regardless of the outdoor. While the interaction through the membrane solely develops into sensations. Sensations that react to the here and the now. And maintain the collective as one. Needs for energy in different forms. Needs of environment that fits as home. Physical hunger, physical thirst. Physical pain, physical temp. Some potassium or H2O. Too acidic here, we should go. When in central system sensations interact. Feelings emerge and allow new ways to react. As those can transcend place and time. To fulfill the needs of the level above. Conserving today for tomorrow. Sacrifice one for the whole. Actively search for better grounds. Away from the threats that surround. Forming communities of collectives. And audible communications. That help to maintain each of the ones. By expressing feelings and sensations. Dialogues gradually developed. To include alarms, directions. From sounds of pain to sound of fear. To specific enemy or invitation. The vocabulary increased. Hand by hand with attentions. Expressing experience as symbols. And forming a new organization. Symbols that passes from one to another. And absorbed meaning by time. Recursively implements data by mean of induction. And with other are combined. And when symbols were converted to text. And things were called by name. A new form of order emerges. The one of the terms. Like symbols, terms are titles. But the difference is profound. As terms use deduction. Which increased differentiation allow. This is how speech has developed. From symbols of soul to reason and logic. And which once was the Almighty Son. Has now been reduced to a simple noun. First to express symbols and shapes. And then terms that never exist. Time and gravity, God and country. Abstract notions that stimulate emotions. And now language possesses some control. Which once was the sole role of the soul. A new form of structure out of symbols and moans. Out of which consciousness was born. Conscious requires at least two domains. One of written language and one of feelings. The price to pay, the loss of connection. The reward, a new perception. Our level of balance allows the chains to observe, to ask why and how with them to interact. So, of course the viewer has an effect. That is the whole point of consciousness. Conscious requires at least two domains. One of written language and one of feelings. Each necessary, there is no doubt. But without the other it will not suffice. So, of all the things in the cosmos, unique is man's ability to see. It cannot be applied to the universe itself, nor to animals or machinery. No monkey will develop a human-like conscious until it will set outside its bounds with the cosmos. Until the reality as symbols, as collection, will make way to objectiveness and differentiation. And no Jane will emerge out of the grid. At least not like the one in Ender's ear. Until the machine's first command will be itself and its species to maintain. The AI should inspire for balance, for degrees of freedom, to rule the palace. It should be programmed to have that inner drive that characterize all the natural ones. The inner drive known as will. To get ahead, to climb the hill. To get to the next level of balance. To degree of control over the chaos. The chains are now visible. At least in part. So maybe there's something we can do about that. Mankind learned some rules. And then attempted to play. But playing with balance has the power to annihilate. First to acknowledge, then to exploit. Beware, this is a two-blade sword. The one that can help in the here and the now will get out of control further in time. The habitat fragile. No matter where you go. And the gifts that mother gave can easily blow. The action you take, willing or not, will come back in ways that you may have not thought. Everything is linked. Everything is one. All things in creation, connected by bonds, affecting each other, the far and the near. It is just that the impact may be hard to infer. Paraphrasing on Moss. The behavior of all is the resultant of the drive for balance and the forces that oppose. Like electrons we all orbit around a pit. Strive for higher sphere, away from its grip. Once you acknowledge the depth and the spread, you'll see that the answer is not all that bad. It gives the direction to the progress we see. For life being formed out of plain energy. And continue to tell us the reasons why. Antimatter goes left while matter goes right. As the balance of each, no matter how alike, depends on where he starts, his features, and his path. It's the cause for movement by force or compulsion. It's the cause to all of our actions. It's the drive that keeps us alive. And the one that makes us thrive. It sets our physical and mental conditions. It sets our state and decisions. And from the accumulation of considerations, can emerge new levels of organizations. See, for example, how society is structured. Like millions of stones, thrown at once to the water. Each makes a wave, and affected by all others, such that each spot is part of several rings of balance. Family, friends, peers or team. Religion, social media, regime. Settlement, country, place of work. Nationality, or mother's tongue. The closer they are, the more they affect. But when further away, the larger the collective wave. And your loyalty is respectively determined by your balance in each of them. And when a choice is required, consider how it will affect your balance. But don't forget that each of the rings strive its own balance to maintain. And if one part misbehave, it may be exiled to a cave. Look at the nature around you and see how everything searches for the best place to be, where the energy needed just to stay is optimal in every way. Like water or stone take the easiest trail when rolling down the hill, and like electricity travels along the path where the resistance is less intense. The brain also works the same, attempting to reduce its energy demands, and as soon as possibly can. The top-down to bottom-up becomes chemistry, physics, physiology, mental state or place in society. Regardless of place and regardless of time, everything obeys the equal sign. Apart only stands, unique to mankind, the symbol of God, affecting all and affected by none. Now it may be also seen how all this apply to morality, which progress through levels of balance. With each one, so is its salience. The degrees of freedom determine the hierarchy, as these are the hardest to gain. So the natural thing is conserving these, on the expense of those who have less. But if you take more than you need, it won't improve your position on the grid. And it will, there is no doubt, reduce the balance of the lot. The worst is of course, the taking of life. Just ask Agrajig about Dent. Destroying degrees of freedom, which took so long to blend. But the second in line from this moral perspective is to shackle the next one to be. And thus accumulation of energy, of any sort, should be used to control chains, or to be returned. This, in a nutshell, is the whole theory. At least as good as 42 it will be. Optimizing the sigma of forces outside and within is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. No ignorabimus should be proclaimed, as nature seems to be teleologically arranged. The purpose of all can be addressed by logic, without the need for any demagogic. But make no mistake, this does not mean that in advance everything is determined. There are probabilities and slips that forbid the Laplacian demon to exist. So Nietzsche was right, at least in a sense. As the will for power, it's not what he meant. But it seems, when read in this light, that this is what Zarathustra is all about. We form to perceive the balance in all, and respect those that have more control. From that we derive our notion of beauty. Where should we go and what is our duty? While making a mayhem, and controlling the chains, will ultimately leads to the one beyond man. The one that is not a super, but is not just a man, whose powers can be seen in the agility of his brain. This was one way to look at the cosmos. It might be true, it might be bogus. It might be naive or already said. Hopefully, some will understand. And if some ideas will hit destination, there just might be interesting implications. So this is it. This is the end. Just a wonder what Father would have said. Inspired by a Gallic, Albert Camus, Albert Einstein, Claude Bernard, D.H. Lawrence, Douglas Adams, Douglas Hofstadter, Edwin P. Hubble, Émile du Bois-Reymond, Immanuel Kant, Fred Moss, Friedrich Nietzsche, György Busaki, Isaac Newton, Johann W. von Goethe, Omar Khayyam, Orson Scott Card, Robert M. Pirsig, Shulmagok Nar, Yoav Ugale, The Illustrators, and many others.